On today's Locked On Thunder podcast, the Oklahoma City Thunder drum the Brooklyn Nets. Isaiah Joe gets hot, SGA returns, and I'm buying a lot of Cason Wallace stock.
You are Locked On Thunder, your daily Oklahoma City Thunder podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Let's get it going on the Locked On Thunder podcast, on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I am your host, media member, and beat writer for Thunder on SI, Rylan Stiles. Follow me on Twitter at Rylan_Stiles. Follow the show on Twitter at LOThunderPod. Email the show, LOThunderPod@gmail.com. Thank you so much for making us your first listen every single morning, every single day. We're here for you talking Thunder basketball. So I hope that you'll subscribe on YouTube and any other podcasting catcher that you have out there. On today's show, we're diving into the Thunder drumming the Brooklyn Nets with Brandon Rabar, Daily Thunder beat writer, 1077 The Franchise. Today's show is brought to you by Prize Picks. Check them out today. It's the perfect time to join. Download the app today and use code LOCKEDONNBA to get $50 when you first file. That's right. Don't even win. You don't even have to win. It's just a bonus guaranteed to you at Prize Picks. Run your game. Brandon, how you doing today?
I'm doing well. Sunday night, had fun in OKC watching this Thunder Nets game on live in front of my face. And then a few of the media members had the Ravens Bills game on at the same time. So one eye over there, during intermission. So it was a fun night of sports.
Yeah, the Ravens Bills game really second to the Brandon Carlson, Usman Jang, Lucas coming out party that we saw in Oklahoma City. So for those of you who chose Ravens Bills, let this serve as a recap for you of what actually did transpire. But Brandon, coming into this, we didn't really know what would be happening in this game because, Shai obviously misses his first game of the year in Dallas on Friday, comes into this, game questionable, which makes sense because you already missed the game, but he ends up playing. J-Dub, after not initially being on the injury report last night, appears on the injury report with a hip injury and did not play in this game. So only one of the top two members and only one of the top four members of this Thunder roster were healthy tonight, but the Thunder still took care of business in a big way. I mean, they just dominated this game. I was really impressed when it came out of the gates. Sometimes, especially you have an earlier tip, albeit an hour, but these guys are still creatures of habits, just like we all are. And so moving the tip up an hour, playing a team that is obviously more interested in capture the flag than they are playing basketball right now, looking over top four in a bit of a lull, but instead the Thunder come out on fire. They at one point swelled a 29-point lead. They never gave up the lead. The game was never even tied except for 0-0, Brandon. And I don't care who you play. That's a pretty impressive feat.
Yeah, so, this Nets team has been competitive despite, the record, despite the fact that they're, firmly in the capture of the flag race. They've been competitive, especially, they had Cam Johnson tonight. They had D'Lo tonight. They had Claxton. They had some guys, Noah Clowney. They have guys that at least other teams are wanting to trade for. They have quality role players. But the Thunder just dominated from beginning to end. I think the biggest thing was, it was a really good sign that obviously a good sign. This goes without saying that Shai played, but, going into today with him being questionable and him missing that Mavs game, there was probably a little bit of concern. Okay, so, this right wrist sprain, is this going to keep him out a few games? How long is this going to be? So Shai played, and not only did he play, but he looked great. He looked like himself. He had 27 points. I thought his playmaking was great tonight. He had 10 assists. He had 4 steals. So it was another game where he didn't get to play the fourth quarter. So his box score wasn't as big as it could have been, but still ended up with 27 and 10 and then 4 steals. Poor guy, though, has missed one quarter of his games this season.
When you look at this game overall, obviously Shai's always going to be the attention driver. And I think that there was something to take away from Shai's game. Clearly not the best competition, but it's more of a continuous string of results for SGA in this department. And that is his passing ability, his playmaking, his vision. Those things have came around this season to a higher degree than we've seen previously. And every year that we've covered this whole time in Oklahoma City, we keep trying to put that limit on him of like, okay, this is as good as it gets, right? Like this is what he is. And every year he keeps coming back better and better and better. It just feels like what he's evolved in this year is as a playmaker, as a player who can now see the floor better. He's making these skip passes to the open man to create advantages. He's oftentimes, before have leaned on the easy basic stuff and just kind of gotten off the ball because he's in trouble. Now he's getting off the ball to help set others up and help create advantages for them to score. You saw that all game tonight where he was dictating the defenses with the pass. He had 10 assists total, 27 points, 10 for 10 at the free throw line, 57% from the floor. I thought that Shai was really, really.
Yeah, so Shai was Shai tonight. And I think that was the biggest thing. Just as long as like Shai coming back from the right wrist sprain and, kind of cooling all nerves that, any Thunder fan may have had, that, that he wasn't going to be an injury that was going to linger, have any sort of like affect his game. No, he still looked like Shai. He still looked like the league MVP out there. The man would have gone for 35 points had he got to play the fourth quarter, but he didn't. So he still ended up with 27 and 10 and 4 steals. So still Shai looked like Shai. And, as far as J-Dub goes, he missed tonight with a hip strain. I think it was a good sign that he was questionable leading up to the game. So, the Thunder, he gets tonight off, and the Thunder have 2 more days off until they play the Jazz. So we'll see if he plays the Jazz or not. That's obviously a very winnable game with or without J-Dub. So maybe he takes that game off as well, gets an extended rest right here in the middle of the season. That would be nice. But even if not, he gets tonight off. He had yesterday off, and then 2 more days off. Good sign, I think, that he's just questionable. So I think that Shai and J-Dub are all good, which is the main thing.
Yeah, and then to your point, we'll get back to the game in a second, but on these injuries, it is a great sign, in my opinion, that J-Dub was questionable. I agree with you because you knew from yesterday to today that you were more than capable of beating the Brooklyn Nets. Like the Brooklyn Nets were no threat. It's not like you really needed him to go out there, but the fact that he was, hurting, but still able to try to play in this game, and a game that is such a lopsided affair, and a game that even when both of their names appeared on the injury report, to where at that point you had of your top 4, 2 out and 2 questionable, the Vegas spread with our good friends at FanDuel stayed at 16.5 points. Like you need these guys to win this game. The fact that they were willing to try to give it a go, I think it's a good sign. To your point, the Jazz also don't pose a threat, and it's the first end of a back-to-back, and the second game is the Dallas Mavericks, which we all know what that brings. We all know the tenacity, the animosity, the hatred that brings. So it's going to be a lot of fun when those two get together in the Paycom Center. And then in this game, I thought that they really executed their plan of, one, taking care of business. Don't let it get dicey. Don't play with your food. And because of that, they got to manage these minutes so well. Kenrich Williams did not step on the floor a single minute tonight. And that's big for a guy who is a veteran in this league. We've seen him wear down in previous seasons, and he plays a very taxing style of basketball, both from his competitive motor, but also from what he's asked to do. Like his frame is not, meant to play elongated stretches as the center, and he does that and does that very well. And so against the Brooklyn team that can get pretty jumbo-sized in certain lineups, the fact he still did not have to play Kenny Hustle one single minute is really good for like the in-season load management, if you will. Caruso only plays 19 minutes. Even Cason in the starting lineup played 25. Isaiah Joe played 22. Dort played 21. This was a very manageable game to capitalize on. You had the day off Saturday. You got 2 days off coming up.
Yeah, so what a luxury this Thunder team has, that they are so deep that you can be missing your number 2, number 3, number 4 or 5, and then, AJ Mitchell, who is a part of this rotation, and Kenrich Williams tonight doesn't play, and you still beat a team by 26 points. Like the Thunder, they love their depth. They love the fact that they trust all these guys to come out and play. And you got guys like Ousmane Dieng who comes in and scores 8 points in the first couple of minutes that he plays. And that's why you have the luxury of being able to set Kenrich Williams tonight to get that extended rest, like you said, especially with a back-to-back coming up. And especially, I think that not to look ahead, we're still talking about the Nets, and then we still have the Jazz coming up. But you mentioned it, so I got to say, I'm very much looking forward to that Mavs rematch, this time in Oklahoma City. And this time, obviously, hopefully, Shai will be playing, it looks like. So I think that's going to be real fun and salty. So get these guys some extra rest to make sure you're 100% as far as anybody that's going to be healthy playing against the Mavs.
Got to get geared up for that game. But coming up, why am I buying even more Cason Wallace stock? Isaiah Joe gets hot, and Aaron Wiggins was a highlight machine in this game. But first, I want to say right now about our good friends over at Prize Picks. Go check them out today because basketball season is heating up, and there's no better way to get real money action while watching your favorite NBA stars than with Prize Picks. Whether you're a diehard fan or just love some friendly competition, Prize Picks makes it fun and easy to turn your basketball knowledge into cash. Here's how it works. Pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 1,000 times your cash. Think LeBron James is going to drop 30 tonight? Boom, hit that more option, and you'll be able to pair him with somebody else, such as SGA assists, and you'll be able to win money at Prize Picks. You go to Prize Picks and let your predictions make you some money. Put your mouth is in just 60 seconds. So I've been using Prize Picks all year. It's really, really fun. It's addictive. It's how fun it is. It's so great. You can do it really fast. Again, you can make these picks in under 60 seconds, and you get your payout as quickly as 15 minutes at times. So make sure you go take advantage of this offer, because right now you can download the app today and use code LOCKEDONNBA to get $50 instantly when you play your first $5 lineup. That's right. Not if you win, not win or lose, instantly $50 for playing a $5 lineup with the code LOCKEDONNBA. So go check it out today. It's guaranteed at Prize Picks. Run your game. We're back on the Locked On Thunder podcast, on the Locked On Podcast Network, your teams every day. Thank you so much for making us your first listen every single morning, every single day. We're here for you, talking Thunder basketball. I'm Rylan Stiles, host of Locked On Thunder and beat writer for Thunder on SI. That's Brandon Rabar, 107.7 The Franchise, beat writer for Daily Thunder. And we're both on the OKC Dream Team Patreon podcast if you want to go check that out as well. But Brandon, let's start with Isaiah Joe, who is finding his stride at the perfect time. There's been a lot made about Isaiah Joe's three-point shooting, and recently he was asked point blank about it. And these numbers are not too, while they're getting there, they're not to what you come to expect, right? 37% from three, and for a long time it was below that. And you just simply look at his splits. It was in the 4-game sample size of October, it was 39%, and then in November it was 35% from three. In December, it was 32% from three. And now in the 9-game sample size in January, he's shooting 43% before you even factor in his 8-for-10 outburst against Brooklyn. And whenever he was asked about it, he talked about how this season he's having to take different kinds of threes than what he's accustomed to. And I asked Mark after the game to kind of expand on that in terms of what Mark wants him to be shooting and what they are looking for. And Mark explained it as, what their messaging from the preseason about wanting more volume, even if it takes a step back efficiency wise, is bearing out with these guys. And it's highlighted by Isaiah Joe, because they think that in the long run, even if the numbers aren't as gaudy as they were a year ago, whenever it comes time to put the chips down in the playoffs, you're a better team for it. And I have to agree, so long as this continues, where you're seeing Isaiah Joe, and I put out on Twitter of that great game in New York, where you're seeing all the actions that he's being put in, with the Spain pick and roll pop that he goes out there to, he's relocating off the ball, taking triple handoffs, like all these things. Those are repeatable actions to create wide open shots that you desperately need to hit and desperately need to create in the half court of a playoff series. And so him getting more comfortable with that in January is a great sign. And I think that he's starting to come around.
Yeah, and look no further than the Boston Celtics and how they spam threes and how it works in the playoffs. Isaiah Joe now is 16 of 21 versus New York-based teams in the last 9 days from three. I had to look it up because I was curious what his 8 of 10 tonight would put his season overall three-point numbers at, and he's all of a sudden at 38.8% on the season. So he's creeping up to that 40% territory. I think that you and I both have thought, he's going to get there. That's just what he does. Isaiah Joe shoots 40% from three. I still think he's going to. He was incredible tonight. He was 8 of 10. I really want to see him hit that 9th one because his career high is 8, which he hit 9 days ago against the Knicks. So it would have been fun to see him hit his 9th one. My main takeaway, though, quite honestly, was he did this against Cam Johnson and the Brooklyn Nets of all teams and of all players to do that with, we won't get into that, but I know there's been a lot of, social media buzz about the Thunder trading for Cam Johnson. And if they did, would it be Isaiah Joe? Would it be Aaron Wiggins? So I just thought, Rylan, it was ironic that Isaiah Joe went 8 for 10 from three against Cam Johnson and the Nets. That's all I'm saying.
Isn't it ironic? Remember that song from back in the
Alanis Morissette, of course.
Yeah,
I'm
Alanis
a 90s
Morissette.
kid. I'm a 90s kid, Rylan.
Shout out Joey Gladstone, by the way. Don't look that reference up. When you look at this game, when you look at this game for the Thunder, Isaiah Joe stood out, but so did Cason Wallace. And obviously, you'd wish the Thunder could play 82 games at full strength. We haven't seen them play one game at full strength yet, and they're still this good. But in a game like this, where J-Dub is out and you're going to have to go into your bench and 3 of your top 4 guys are out, it presents an opportunity for others to be thrusted into roles that they're not typically in. And one of those for Cason Wallace is tapping back into his on-ball prowess that he displayed so well in college and displayed so well in high school as also. He's been someone who I think people limit him because he's so good. He's kind of a victim of his success, where you've been able to conform to this Thunder role of 3-and-D practically. That's just what you are for the rest of your career. When in reality, this is a sophomore in the NBA. Like this is still a really young player who has all of this upside and all of this ceiling that we just don't know where it levels off at. In my opinion, we know that the defense will bear out to be elite when it's all said and done. But offensively, there's still a lot there. I've raved and ranted about how great he is at reading the floor off of starters, and that's how he plays so well off the ball, where he can relocate and hit a 3 off the catch. He can float to the dunker spot and be there as a safety valve. He can also do the guard-to-guard screens that the Thunder like to do. But tonight, you got to see him play on the ball as a scorer and get downhill, and he was really impressive in that setting. And so these games where you might look at it and say, well, no Shai or no J-Dub or whoever is out, this kind of takes the luster out of it. Watching for things like this is kind of the beauty of having such a young team who's also so good, is because these games still really matter.
Yeah, Cason Wallace, what struck me from the beginning with him was like how smart he was. And it was something that, Sam Presti talked about. It was something that Martin Daigneault talked about. And it jumps out at you from the very beginning. Like we've said this before with him, but he just plays, very mistake-free basketball. We say this about AJ Mitchell too. Like tonight, Cason Wallace plays 26 minutes. He had 3 assists and he had 0 turnovers. Like he takes care of the ball. And, I think because of his role last season, basically being a 3-and-D guy, you just kind of get in your head that's just what he's going to be. But it's definitely not. The Thunder want to see more from Cason. They want him to expand in his game, and he is expanding in his game this season. And I've been impressed. I love the way he attacks the basket when he does attack the basket. I love the way that he always looks for the right pass. Just a really smart basketball player. And like you said, the defense, if it's not already elite, it's going to be elite. And then what he's doing on the offensive end, I think, has kind of become underrated, honestly, just because the 3 ball isn't falling the way it did last season. But I think he's doing, better things overall on the offensive end than he was last season. The 3 balls just had not fallen as much as well last season.
Yeah, and I don't want to make this a trade deadline pod, and I think that we should get together on an off day and do that, because I know that they'll really want to hear us bounce back and forth on trades. So I'm going to sign you up for that against your will right now.
Deal.
Looking at a game like this is kind of I get a little bit more entrenched in the stance of it's tough for me to try to sell you on, hey, they need to go make a move when I don't really know how to evaluate what that move should be. I came into the season looking at what was a perfect offseason, but one that still lacked a clear identity of who's going to be that table setter in the postseason, because you have to take some of that lion's share away from Shai. We saw how it went last year, and they didn't really address it in the sense of like their size issue, staple it as it was Hartenstein. Their Giddey issue, it was Caruso. There was options. It was AJ, it was Cason, it was J-Dub. There was a lot of options heading into the year, but they didn't have like an exclamation point, hey, this is our fix. And now I look at it, it's the same way where it's like, look what AJ did until he got hurt. And we don't really know how he'll come back from that injury this season, but projecting into the future, do you really want to go trade for someone right now and give up resources and assets if you have somebody in-house who can fill that table setting role? Because we're not even talking about Nikola Topic yet. So that's one of the big three concerns I have about this team. The other one would be, a big shooting four. Well, guess what? Like, what if Chet Holmgren is just like this perfect four next to Hartenstein that stretches the floor offensively, roams around defensively, and now you don't need a starting level shooting forward. You need a backup level big man to kind of stagger with those two guys if you're going to start both of them. That changes everything about what we think of this team whenever we see those two guys play together. And you can just go down the list of, we still don't know what we don't know. We don't know what will end up being the needs to address at this specific deadline. And I get that it gets really tiresome of waiting, because if you've stuck around this show from the days of Baisley, from the days of Poku, it seems like every year I'm having to sit here and tell you, just hold on. But that's how crazy young this team is, that it's not make or break this season. Do they want to win a championship? Do they want to capitalize on this? Absolutely. Are they good enough to win a championship? Absolutely. But I just still think that we will get a much clearer picture of what this team needs to do and what this team needs to upon after the postseason, which obviously lets the deadline pass. Now, I'm not saying they will or won't make a trade. I don't know. But from my vantage point, I just really want to see this team kind of feel it out and collect those data points to kind of hold to them and make the more informed decision. Because I just think right now it's really tough to make an informed decision if you're going to want them to go do something massive. Now, a minor move, sure, whatever, but something massive, I just don't think you have enough kind of data to know yet.
Yeah, you don't, because we haven't seen them fully healthy. I mean, the Thunder are going to get the best, all-star break addition you can get by adding Chet Holmgren back into this lineup. So they are getting a huge piece of this puzzle back, and we haven't seen, all the data points we need to see, because we haven't seen Chet and Hart play together. Caruso missed a lot of time. Kenrich Williams missed a lot of time. Jay Will missed a lot of times. But especially when it comes down to Chet and Hartenstein, how much time they missed, didn't get to play together. I haven't seen this full kind of team assembled yet. And then the other part of it is the financial part of it. Like, if you're going to trade away pieces to get somebody, when you look at salary you have to trade away, you're looking at Isaiah Joe, who just went 8 of 10 from 3 tonight, who went 8 of 11 from 3 a few nights ago. You're looking at Aaron Wiggins, who, is a fan favorite, always plays well when given the chance. And by the way, the biggest thing with those two guys is they are on very team-friendly contracts. Like Aaron Wiggins, his contract, and it's descending. Like, he's like making $10 million for like 5 years. It's descending. Aaron Wiggins or Isaiah Joe on like a $12 million contract. Like when you're building a team around stars like SGA and J-Dub and Chet, and they're going to get maxes and super maxes. And then you got, guys like Lou Dort and his contract, Alex Caruso and his $20 million. Having guys like Wiggins and Isaiah Joe and the quality of depth they provide on those contracts is very big for a team when you want to surround your stars with pieces to win. So that's another kind of part of the equation. When you're looking at consolidating, when you're looking at getting a guy, you're giving away depth and you're giving away really nice contracts as well.
Yeah, and eventually they will have to consolidate. I just don't think it's February like 8th or whatever the deadline number is. The interesting part about the Chet Hartenstein dynamic is, even if you don't think that they're going to start, which I have been in that camp since the signing of, like, I think that they're going to stagger those two guys and allow yourself to have a center on the floor at all times. It doesn't really matter in the sense of like it's really about how you close games. And I think that there's a chance that the best lineup that this team can put out there to really squeeze out teams late in games in the playoffs involves both Chet and Hartenstein. And then therefore, J-Dub's got to be a 3 now instead of a 4. Lou Dort's now a 2 instead of a 3. And Shai is still an oversized 1, to where like right now you're thinking they need this bigger defending Cam Johnson-like player. I mean, the lamps are going to completely change, man. Like once this stuff gets back on the road here. So I just really don't know what would be out there, which is why we need to have a bigger pod about this in the future, Brandon. But coming up, let's talk Aaron Wiggins, a highlight machine against Brooklyn. But first, I want to say right now, my good friends over at FanDuel, because from the first whistle to the final drive, FanDuel makes the NFL playoffs even more exciting. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win your first bet. That's $300 to keep the action going. The FanDuel app is easy to navigate and has a variety of bets to keep every game exciting. Plus, when you win, you get paid instantly. No waiting around for your winnings. Whether you're betting on your favorite team or just looking to make some extra excitement out of the playoffs, which Brandon needs to do because his Cowboys are on the couch while the Commanders and Eagles are playing to go to the Super Bowl, FanDuel has you covered. Just visit FanDuel.com and join today and get started with $300 in bonus bets. That's FanDuel.com. Make the playoffs season unforgettable with FanDuel, the official sportsbook partner of the NFL. And if you only love the NBA, no worries. We have an 11 a.m. tip today in the NBA where the Dallas Mavericks are 5.5-point favorites in Charlotte. So for you commuters, when you get to work today, or if you're just chilling on the couch because it is a holiday, go to FanDuel.com and check it out. We're back on Locked On Thunder podcast on the Locked On Podcast Network, your teams every day. Brandon, I'm going to just start with the Wiggins stuff with this. What was your favorite Wiggins play? Because I think that we're going to have differing answers because he had that many plays.
Yeah, so my favorite Wiggins play tonight, there's two candidates that really, really stand out, but the one to me, and I don't know what you're going to choose, but I thought was the behind the back flip pass to Brandon Carlson for the 3. Like we've seen like Aaron Wiggins with some pretty smooth, layups and finishes at the rim. But that I was not expecting a behind the back flip pass to Brandon Carlson. That was not. I'm so glad that Carlson hit that 3 to complete the highlight for Wiggins. But that was my favorite. What was yours?
Yeah, I mean Wiggins had 2 behind the back dimes, by the way, in this game. But I'm stuck between the low post spin and the Euro step through the lane. I tell you, I hope that this isn't revealing company secrets, but when Wiggins Euro stepped his way to the basket, Royce Young mimicked a Euro step, Westbrookian-like, where Westbrook used to mimic other players' Euro steps, and that's what he did to give Wiggins a head nod there. As he had 12 points, 5 assists, 3 rebounds, and he went 2 for 5. He had 12 assists. 12 points, 5 assists, 3 rebounds. 0 for 4 from 3, but he did shoot 6 of 11 overall. So still shot 54% from the floor, despite going 0 for 4 from 3. Wiggins, really good against Brooklyn, was a +8. Brandon Carlson deserves a ton of credit. His 10-day contract is up today. The Thunder legally can sign him to a second 10-day contract if they so choose. And then at that time, they have to make a bigger decision because you can only sign a single player to 2 10-day contracts. And so there's a few options for them, right? Whenever his second 10-day expires, if they want to sign him to a second one, they can either sign him back to the main roster on a normal contract, or what I think would be most likely if you get to that stage, if he first secures the second 10-day deal, that's the first domino. And then if he impresses in that stint and then secures the Thunder wanting him around again, I think the most likely path, and really the only path for keeping Carlson around, in my opinion, just from my vantage point, would be you reward AJ, converting him to a standard contract, and then you slide Carlson in to AJ's left behind to a deal. I think that'd be the simplest way to do it. And the Thunder do just seem to really love Carlson. I mean, the way that Cam Woods, the Blue head coach, and the way talks about him, it's just rave reviews. And in this game, you saw why. I mean, he is a lethal pick and pop option because he sets a really good screen. for his size and frame. He pops up to the 3-point line. It's a quick three. It's a quick release and it's a high release. So once you're scrambled there, especially when he's setting it for Shai, once you're scrambled trying to make sure you're taking care of Shai and you recover back onto Carlson, the shots either already left his hands or way above the point of contest to where Carlson's able to have clean looks over and over and over again. Very repeatable stuff from him. 8 points, 5 boards, 2 assists, a steal, and a block for Brandon Carlson. Brandon Rabar, what'd you think of Mr. Carlson?
Yeah, I continue to be impressed, as John Hamm called him, Brandon Carlson, because there are some similarities between him and Mike Muscala as far as being like a 7-footer that's a shooter. Like you can use as a pick and pop option off of the bench. I really like what he brings. Not only the shooting, like the shooting is what really stands out. I think though, like the rim protection, like I think his rim protection is a little underrated. Like, you know, whether it was in the G League or whatever it was, or the limited sample that we've seen with him with the Thunder, like I think he can play. Like I think that it's not just the shooting. I think he can play a little D. I think he can protect the rim, block some shots, and he mixes it up with the boards. So I'm pretty intrigued with Carlson as a player, quite honestly. I think he can play. I agree with you. I think the most likely thing is not that he's going to be, you know, getting a standard contract. I think it's more likely that they reward AJ Mitchell. That was going to be in the plans. I think it's still in the plans. And then Carlson gets the 2-way contract. But, you know, obviously another 10 days is going to happen, I think. And then we'll see what happens with Isaiah Hartenstein when he comes back. You know, but Carlson, I think the fact that he's played 3 straight first quarter minutes now and looked good and impressive. And it's not just hitting the shots, it's his all around game, especially the defensive end. Like you can trust him on the defensive end. I think it's been impressive.
I mean, he's just a really smart player. And Mark said that same thing. Mark shared a story that like he had the playbook down the first day he was here. And that's really impressive because of the Thunder's unique style. And like they've had to send guys to the blue just to learn system skills. And then like this is a guy who's young, who got this environment, early in his basketball life. He's not young age-wise, but neither is Dylan Jones. You know, early in his basketball life, and he's picked everything up so quickly. And you see that kind of basketball savviness pay off on the floor as well, not just in the playbook. Because to your point, you know, I've watched Carlson every blue game he's played in, and now he's gotten some Thunder awards. So now seeing him with the Thunder too, and what translates, what doesn't translate from the G League for him. And the defense, I don't want to get overblown, right? Like he's not going to be a high level defender, but I think that his wits make him a serviceable defender, because you watch how he's defended the last 3 games, all against different matchups, like what the Cavs can do, what Gafford can do, and this collection of Brooklyn castaways in the front court. And his coverages and positioning is so different. And in this game, you saw Brooklyn shoot 27% from 3. He was in drop coverage all night, which helped him, defend the rim really well. Whereas he didn't play a ton of drop the last couple of games because the game didn't necessitate that. The game didn't lend itself to that. He was able to get out and contest on the perimeter at times. He just understands the game so well that can carry him far enough defensively for a player who, at the end of the day, as fun as this is to get swept up in Carlson mania, at the end of the day, he's a bit player who will only play in spurts. And he can be good enough defensively for what he gives you offensively and what he gives you as a rebounder. Those 2 things will carry him far if he continues to get opportunity in the NBA. And it just goes to show you like how talented the G League is. The G League is not full of guys who can't play. There's just not enough spots to go around at the NBA level. And he finally got a shot here recently. He's showing you he's a really good player. We'll see what the future holds for him in a very competitive field. Shout out Alex Dukas, 3 for 3 from 3. In this game for 9 points. That was a good game from Dukas. Any other thoughts on this game, Brandon?
No, I think that, you know, the Thunder obviously much better than the Nets. Without J-Dub, Chet, Hartenstein, and AJ Mitchell. Cam Johnson, probably not long for the Nets. I think that we'll see a Cam Johnson trade. I think the Kings right now are like the kind of buzzed about favorite. So I guess I tie a boat on it this way. Like Cam Johnson is going to be a really good player for wherever he ends up, whether it's, you know, the Kings or the Thunder, or he stays with the Nets, whoever it's going to be. But if the Thunder don't make a move for a guy like Cam Johnson, now seeing him up close, seeing what Isaiah Joe, Wiggins can bring to the table, and you have all this depth with Kenrich Williams and Hartenstein coming back and Chet coming back and the depth that the Thunder have, the Thunder will be just fine whether they don't make a move, whether they make a move, whether Cam Johnson stays in Brooklyn or wherever he goes, Rylan. That would be my final thought.
That's your final thought. My final thought is a sicko one. Ousmane Dieng has been strung together two of his best. I'll say it. His two very best NBA games of his career have been the last two nights. Very small sample size, I will admit you, but quick decision making, getting to the rim, playing with force. Defensively, he's really came along defensively his whole career. That's never been his problem, but it's obviously heightened over this last week as he's grown as a player. But that was good stuff from Oos in this course that helps when the shot goes in. That's going to be a swing skill. If the shot continues to go in from three, he'll grow himself into, whether it's here or elsewhere, a good NBA player. If the three-point shot never comes around, well, it's just more the same from what we've seen recently. But Brandon, I think we have knocked this coverage of the Brooklyn Nets Thunder dominating win 127-101 out of the park. This was a tell-all pod about this game, sort of like you ought to know from Atlanta Morissette. Brandon, thanks for joining us. Until next time, be good and be good to one another.